The city has our officers have theirs right here.
Yes, I think the downtown businesses are gonna.
Take their breaks. Yeah, take their breaks and move their car to the other
It's
spot.
for security, not for employees.
They won't say, "Are you on the emergency?" Are they, okay, I have questions. Are those around the, courthouse, are those city parking lots or? Places right here. They right here. City. Okay. But since it's a county courthouse, do they have any county spot? Is that county?
Judge.
Just lives down the street.
Yeah, they have no designated law enforcement. Matter of fact, they've been ticketed by our police department.
I'll make sure.
They have been ticketed. Yes, they have. They've been ticketed by our.
No professional courtesy there?
It's been straightened out now, but they have been ticketed in the past. Yes. Yeah. And he was asking for them in close proximity to that door back over there where they bring prison in and out. He specifically asked for the closest one to that door for security issues.
How many?
Whatever we give him, 2 or 3, we'll have to ask one of the officers. All right, thank you. Oops, sorry. It's 6:25 and the safety committee meeting will come together, will come into order right now so we can discuss a repair on Tower 1. Chief Mayfield, what you got here?
All right, back in April, we had a small accident with it. We hit a small pole and it kind of tailed the left side of the back end out. So we turned it into the insurance company and they come look at it and I got 2 estimates for it. And I will wait on the check to come in before I have it fixed. And come find out the check came to City Hall and they forgot to tell me about it. So when I asked about it, and the master said, yeah, we got the check up here and it came in May. So they turned it in on last year, explanatory. So, but the guys, the lowest, we got one out of town and got one in town. So I like to say the one in town do the job and it's cheaper than the one out of town, but he about ready to start working on it.
And that one that was out of town, I don't see any transportation and they're out of South Carolina. I don't see any.
Well, it will be out of Nashville.
They would do it. The work
Yeah,
in
they
Nashville.
will do it in Nashville.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so your recommendation is that we go with the local, and you don't have a problem with him instead of the paint to use those reflective chevrons on the
Right,
back of the engine?
because now it all, you gotta have them on the back.
Okay.
On back of you. All emergency vehicle gotta have them on the back.
Okay, so it'll actually help us and won't
Yes.
hurt us a bit. Okay, is there any questions or any discussion on that? We have a local bid for $6,500 and one for out of town for over 3 times that. So if nobody has a question, I'd entertain a motion to accept Remco's bid for this repair to Tower 1. So moved. Have a motion. Do we have a second?
A second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. At this point in time, I don't believe we have any further dealings with just the safety committee, so I'll close this meeting. And then 6, what time? Start that one at 6:30. I can't tell what time it is.
I got 6:29.
Well, we got,
You're close.
might as well. Okay, so at this time, I'll call a joint meeting in with the Streets and Sanitation Department and Public Safety to discuss a request from Sheriff Matheny to give his sheriff's officers some designated parking behind the courthouse for the physical security officers. Debbie, you care to come up and help us understand? If you don't mind, I'd like to relay what Sheriff Matheny expressed to me, and then you please correct me if I've got anything wrong, okay?
Absolutely, go ahead.
So Sheriff explained to me that the Sheriff's Department is in charge of the physical security at the courthouse. that's a uniquely sheriff's officer duty. That we don't have any designated parking for the security officers. And that currently they're having to park quite a distance away from the entrance where prisoner transports come in and out. And he feels that that's a disadvantage for the physical security of the courthouse, since the gear that your officers carry is in their SUVs, other than their sidearm. And he thinks that if there's a problem or he has to get some additional material in, that the extended time coming out of that door, running across Court Square to wherever they can park over here, and then getting back could result in a bad outcome. Does that sum it up? And please fill in any blanks that I've
Yes.
left.
I mean, we have just a few, a few things, the security, reasons like that. Also, when, we're dropping off inmates, if we have, we have more people in court than we've had previously as the years go on. And so now whenever we bring people up here, if there's no parking for the officers, they just have to park wherever they can. And sometimes they have inmates that they're bringing up if all the other parking is taken at that point, and then they're walking them through public areas, which leaves a little bit more room for something to happen. Perhaps they have interactions with the public, or if someone's angry with them, having some sort of dispute. So we would, what they're proposing is that there's some on the backside of the courthouse, more so facing highs, there's a lane there that has a post office box, and but other than that, the lane is clear. And they were asking, we know that it's physically feasible, obviously, for us to park a vehicle there, but we were bringing it before you guys to see if it would be whatever else would be involved in that, because obviously they would have to move the post office box, and that involves the post office and the federal government, and so but we wanted to come to you guys first, since we had this issue, and it was something that we thought that just us looking at it, that's about the only way that we could come up with alleviating some of the parking issues. And then also the officers wouldn't be taking up parking for the public as well, because when we are up here and we have extra officers there, it's taking away public parking. So it's just a little bit of an issue, and maybe we could add 4 or 5 spots there. So Lieutenant Rudisell at the courthouse kind of brought this to Sheriff Matheny, and Sheriff Matheny and Chief Martin are in the Pigeon Forge for the sheriff convention. So they just wanted me to come present this and see if we could see what it would take, or if it was feasible.
So you're how many spaces do you guys have in mind there? And this is, let me tell you what I thought first, exactly like you suggested, that we might need to move that postal drop box. But then I thought, well, no, there's plenty of them in town, and you're only there when you're there. When court's not in session, then it's unobstructed, and it could be used anywhere. So that was my thought on it. Of course, the committee's got to decide that. But how many physical spaces do you think you want there?
It was 4 to 5. I would say, just from me looking at it, I didn't measure it, but it looks like we could probably do 4, even if the that box was still there. Court generally, what we're talking about is Tuesday morning into early afternoon, Wednesdays, when circuit court has their criminal docket, and Thursdays kind of going from in the morning into early evening. The rest of the time, we pretty much are able to be okay with that, but that would be the time that it would almost be blocked. The rest of the time that it would pretty much be accessible.
So based upon those pictures that I took over there, it looks like there's safely 3 without crowding the corner on Court Square over there. I'd be concerned if we got that too close to that Court Square, that we'd have some issues with people whipping around there and people trying to back out over there in front of the flower shop. So, I mean, there'd be at least 3 between Court Square and Post Office down to that pedestrian crosswalk. There could be at least 3 right there. I don't know if there's enough room for the front, but we can let Frank Southern give us his opinion on that and see.
Right.
Does that seem reasonable that we could probably get 3 there?
Yeah, I don't see an issue right here on this part of, I guess that's still Morford Street.
Mhm.
I was kind of thinking they were going to present taking parking spots, on Court Square or on Main Street. And I just don't know how I would have felt about that, but I think this is a good idea. I mean, this just isn't used very much and people can still walk to that post office box. And it's still accessible. So, I mean, I'm not on the committee, but I do think that that's a good idea and could serve their purpose without taking away public parking downtown, which as long as I can remember has been an issue and a sore subject for, you know, certain people and certain groups. So,
I think it'll actually put some public parking back in.
yeah.
It'll actually help that.
Well, are you gonna designate certain times or what's the?
Well, I believe that would have to be during court hours, right?
Correct. I mean, of course, that doesn't vary. I mean, the court hours are very well set, so it wouldn't be something that would be fluid. It would, be something we would be able to post, and probably would be good if we, did do that and designated that way, because if we mark these off and people know that there's parking, if we don't designate it for officers and put some signage or, something up to let them know, I'm sure everybody will say, hey, here's some new parking, let's we're taking this, but so it would probably have to have some sort of signage or marking that would indicate, we even have TDOC, the prison system that they bring their own prisoners in, too. And so sometimes they come and, they have to park wherever they, as well. So it would be good if they could, as we see more and more of that as well, them having to come down here. So it would help them not, and they're unfamiliar with the area, as well. So it, presents even a bigger security risk.
I understand.
One thing that we really need to consider is that Morford is a TDOT right away, and I think they'll want to have some say in additional parking spots. That being said, I think we've worked on it a little bit, just with very little information we've got. Chief Mosley or Frank, do you have any information or? I think we've run some scenarios.
We could put 4 or 5 spaces down the left lane in front of the post office. There's 4 or 5 spots we could put there. If we do it in back, there's about 3 that we could do in back of the courthouse. But we'd have TDOT's approval on that.
So Frank, where they're asking is, that lane that we have kind of
Yeah.
delineated off for that drop box.
Yeah, we've been already talked to the post office. They're good with us moving the box down here to the side of the post
Oh,
office.
okay.
Is where they would rather have the box anyway.
Perfect.
On the corner.
Nice.
Well, on down from the corner,
Back toward the post office
Yeah.
or away from the post office?
back towards the post, right beside the post office,
Right.
Okay.
right beside of it.
Okay. So all we got to really, if we agree, we just get TDOT's approval, right?
Yeah, I think it might make sense to go back, do all the math, go to TDOT, make sure we're understanding. And we can work with the sheriff's department and say, is this what you want? Then take it to TDOT and say, is this good? Get their blessing on it, and then we can bring it back to the committee. And
Right, we knew that there would be, further study that would most likely have to be done, as I thought that was probably something to do with TDOT as well, but
Yeah.
what we didn't want to overstep our bounds and try to, talk to anybody about it before we came before you guys and kind of, laid it out, to see, if you guys were wanted to go any further with it. So we just wanted to bring it to you guys first, and then we knew that we'd probably have to have some follow-up, but we're willing to work with, with you guys on that.
So Frank, the reference you made to the other possibility parking places like directly across from the post office front door
Yeah,
on that side,
yeah, just,
that would just be
Make
for our
this-
approval and not
yeah,
TDOT, right?
that's
Yeah.
right.
Okay,
and we could get 4 or 5 spaces up through there at least.
And in talking with the sheriff's department, we may come up with something that none of us have thought of. So I think it makes sense to kind of huddle up with them and make sure we understand.
So I guess at this time, we just have to table this and let you get more information on that and then bring it back to the committee as soon as that's ready to go.
Would say so.
It's not really tabled. It's just paused for a minute until we get
Yeah.
the requisite approvals.
Question.
Yes, ma'am.
So are 3 parking spaces in the back of the courthouse going to be enough for you to get your prisoners in and out of that door and?
More, I mean, the more the merrier, you know, as far as that goes. I mean, three, I wouldn't necessarily say that's sufficient, but it was three more than what we, you know, would have. So, I mean, we're, you know, we're not gonna press press it, if that's what we can safely do. You know, without causing any, you know, issues, otherwise that would be fine. If we can get more than that, that would be wonderful. You know, I would say four, you know, is kind of the number that I was, looking at, but I mean, we'll take anything's better than, you know, than what we're doing. And I mean, that would free up hopefully 3 or 4 spots for the public. So.
Well, if that box is moved, would there be 4 spaces?
It's gonna be really close.
It'll be close, we could get. I think me and Lyndon walked up there and looked at it. I think we could get like there's 2 crosswalks.
Mm-hmm.
And if we got 4, it would be on this side of the crosswalk going to the church.
Okay, Yeah.
And that would be kind of a blind spot if a car's there. So I didn't really want to block that crosswalk.
right.
So, but we could get 3, the other.
Well, like the deputy said, that beats a blank.
Yeah,
Right. I mean, we're happy, you know, happy to get anything in addition, but I mean, obviously 4 or 5 and you know, as we know, I mean, it grows. I mean, the dockets grow, the population grows, and you know, in time it, you know, becomes a strain. So.
Understand. Well, I guess at this point in time that we can't really do anything right now, but what we're gonna do, as you've heard, is the city administrator will work with TDOT and work with your office as well and with Frank, and we'll just have to get a little bit of a plan with some measurements, get it out to TDOT, let them sign off on it, and then we can reschedule this. You probably won't have to come back again, though. I think we understand. And I just wanted you to be here in case somebody had a question I couldn't answer.
Okay,
That's a
sir.
good
idea.
So I don't think you're gonna have any problems here, sir. At all.
yeah, I don't think TDOT will have a problem just because it's really a lane for the post office. They have kind of made it, it's not actually a lane.
Okay. All right. So I don't think we have any further business in this joint session. So at this point in time, we're just going to table this for further discussion and we'll get back to you really
Thank you
quickly,
all.
hopefully. Thank you.
Thank you.
This meeting is adjourned. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
If you were.
City Board of Mayor and Aldermen. The first item on the agenda is roll call.
Sally Brock,
Here.
Deidre Dunlap,
Present.
Stacy Harvey,
Present.
Steve Harvey,
Here.
Rachel Kirby.
Here.
Carrie Morton. Here. Mayor Chastain.
Present. The next item on the agenda is consideration of minutes. Each member of the board should have received those in their agenda packet. If there be no requests for additions, corrections, or deletions, I'll entertain a motion to dispense with their reading and approve them as read.
So moved.
Motion by Miss Sally Brock,
Second.
second by Miss Deidre Dunlap. All in favor? Aye, motion passes. Item 3 is recognition of visitors. Anyone who wishes to address the board this evening, please approach the podium and state your name for the record. Hearing none, we'll move on to item 4, recognition of employees. We have several department heads here this evening. If anyone wishes to give recognition to anyone at the city, come on up. Again, hearing none, we'll move on to item 5, communications. There is a request from Main Street, McMinnville for a back-to-school resource fair on Saturday, July 29th. Sean?
Yeah, so the event will be from 1:30 to 6 p.m. It will be just closing the south section of South Court Square where the fountain is. We did receive 2 comments regarding the application, one from Ms. Price, who was in opposition, and the other was from Mr. Sands with Tops, who feels that the downtown vendors should get first choice on it and that there's going to be competing vendors coming in from the outside, which is Kona Ice and one of the other ones. And so they would like to, for future events, to work to promote more downtown businesses and try to give them first opportunity for the booths rather than bringing in outside vendors.
And what exactly is the event going to be doing?
So it's going to be a resource for back to school. The city is partnering with it. The community engagement department is going to do that with
Like school supplies and things like
supplies
that.
and resources within the area.
And so they wanted to do what? They wanted to, what was their opposition for?
So Ms. Price was in opposition of the closure, and then I get the outside vendors. Kona Ice is coming in when there's one other outside vendor. So like Top serves frozen treats and similar items, and so they feel there's competition there and that they should get a little bit of choice to be in there first.
All right, any further questions or discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 6 is petitions. There are none. Item 7 is unfinished business. There is one item. Item 7A is appointment of IDB members for seats vacated by Mr. Trevor Galligan and Mr. Scott McDonald. This was on the last agenda and we opted to defer it to tonight, giving the board a couple of weeks to take considerations for these positions. Again, Mr. Trevor Galligan has opted to not seek a reappointment and wishes to roll off. Mr. Scott McDonald has expressed his desire or willingness to serve again if the board wishes. So I do have 4 names that have been brought to me. Again, Mr. Scott McDonald is the owner and operator of McMinnville Moving and Storage. He also does real estate development and rentals around town. Been directly, intimately involved in a number of projects throughout the community with the IDB, including the hiring of the new IDB director. Another name that I have is Mr. Daniel Owens, former county commissioner. He holds a master's degree in business finance and administration, currently works for TCAT, the Tennessee College of Applied Technology, as one of their financial officers. Mr. John Wilson, who is the owner and operator of Wilson Cutting in Morrison Industrial Park. And then I believe he does some commercial and residential real estate developments as well. And then I have been asked to consider Mr. Everett Brock as well. I believe everybody is familiar with Mr. Brock, a multi-term alderman, and has sat on a number of boards and committees throughout the community. So are there any other names that the board has heard?
Can I go ahead and make a motion to keep Scott McCord or Scott McDaniel on?
Sure.
Okay, I've kind of gotten some background and talked with some people that were already on the board. And he's worked well with them, so I would make a motion to keep him.
Okay. We have a motion to reappoint Mr. Scott McDonald for another term as one of the city representatives.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. I would like to make a nomination for Mr. Daniel Owens. I think he is uniquely suited from the finance background. Again, he works at TCAT on the education side of things. Again, he has experience as an elected official from the county side, and I feel that he would bring a dynamic that I don't know has been seen or is on that board right now. So I would make a motion that the city consider appointing Mr. Daniel Owens for Trevor Galligan's seat.
A second.
That. Sorry.
So I made the motion and Ms. Deidre Dunlap made the second. All in favor? Aye, motion passes. Those will be the two seats representing the city for the next 4 years. Thank you. Item 8 is, first, does any member of the board have any more unfinished business? Hearing none, we'll move on to item 8, new business. Does any member of the board have any new business this evening? Hearing none, we'll move on to item 9, resolutions. Item 9A is resolution number 2209 to authorize the city of McMinnville to close the entrance of East Colville Street and South Spring Street and move the entrance north of South Spring Street 50 feet. This would increase safety at the intersection of the parking lot, reduce traffic and safety concerns at the intersection from the parking lots of South Spring Street and East Colville Street, and add more parking spots. This would authorize the city administrator to execute any necessary plans and to express the time when the resolution becomes effective. Do I have a motion to approve?
So
I have a motion by Mr. Steve Harvey and a second by Mr. Stacy Harvey. Who can provide some context to this?
I'll let him speak to the moving of the entrance.
The moving of the entrance, that is, I mean, it would be safer to move it up, but just because of people coming out from behind First National Bank, instead of going to Colville Street, they're cutting through the parking lot. And that is a big concern, and how we're configuring the parking lot of kind of having a one way around the planter or whatever, where the trees are. It's making it easier to turn in and everything too, because everybody was having, whenever they come down Spring Street, is having more or less make like a U-turn to get into the parking lot.
Any questions or comments for Frank? All right, we have a motion and a second. We'll call for the vote.
Steve Harvey,
yes.
Stacy Harvey,
Aye.
Carrie Morton,
Yes.
Sally Brock,
Yes.
Rachel Kirby. Yes. Deidre Dunlap,
Aye.
Mayor Chastain.
Aye, motion passes. Item 9B is resolution number 2212, City of McMinnville to accept the best bid from CHC Mechanical Contractors for the Parks and Recreation Closed Circuit Cooling Tower, and to authorize the city administrator to issue the necessary purchase order on behalf of the city and to express the time when this resolution becomes effective. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Miss Sally Brock,
Second.
second by Miss Carrie Morton. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote.
Sally Brock,
Yes.
Carrie Morton,
Yes.
Stacy Harvey,
Aye.
Rachel Kirby,
Yes.
Steve Harvey,
Yes.
Deidre Dunlap,
Aye.
Mayor Chastain.
Aye, motion passes. Item 9C is resolution number 2213 of the city of McMinnville to affirm action taken by the Parks and Recreation Committee for Joe Harvey to sign a tentative contract with artist Molly Tuttle, and for Joe Harvey to issue the necessary paperwork on behalf of the city and to set the date when this resolution becomes effective. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Stacy Harvey,
Second.
second by Miss Rachel Kirby. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote.
Stacy Harvey.
Aye.
Rachel Kirby.
Yes.
Deidre Dunlap.
Aye.
Steve Harvey.
Yes.
Sally Brock.
Yes.
Carrie Morton.
Yes.
Mayor Chastain.
Aye, motion passes. Item 9D is resolution number 2214, the city of McMinnville to affirm the action taken by the Parks and Recreation Committee for Joe Harvey to sign a tentative contract with, I can't believe I'm saying this, but Ricky Skaggs. And for Joe Harvey to issue the necessary paperwork on behalf of the city and to set the date when the resolution becomes effective. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Miss Sally Brock,
Second.
second by Miss Rachel Kirby. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote.
Sally Brock.
Yes.
Rachel Kirby.
Yes.
Deidre Dunlap.
Aye.
Stacy Harvey.
Aye.
Carrie Morton.
Yes.
Steve Harvey.
Yes.
Mayor Chastain.
Aye, motion passes. Item 9E is resolution number 2215 of the city of McMinnville to affirm action taken by the Parks and Recreation Committee for Joe Harvey to sign a tentative contract for the Dottie West Fest celebration and for Joe Harvey to issue the necessary paperwork on behalf of the city and to set the date for the resolution to become effective. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Miss Carrie Morton,
Second.
second by Mr. Stacy Harvey. Any questions or comments?
Why does this one have to come, just out of curiosity, to the full board?
If I'm not mistaken, Steve, I think that was it the 10,000? I think it was 10.
The potential payout for it can exceed
It's 10.
$10,000.
Yeah.
Okay,
Anything exceeds 10, we have to go in front of the board.
right, but it's not what,
It's a percentage agreement. It'll be, the artist will take 60% of the door, but with ticket prices where they're at, it could, like I said, the potential payout could exceed $10,000. So I brought it to the full board.
I got you.
To be safe.
Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote.
Carrie Morton.
Yes.
Stacy Harvey.
Aye.
Steve Harvey.
Yes.
Rachel Kirby.
Yes.
Deidre Dunlap.
Aye.
Sally Brock.
Yes.
Mayor Chastain.
Aye, motion passes. Item 10 is ordinances. Item 10A is ordinance number 1858, an ordinance of the city of McMinnville to declare certain real estate as surplus property and to express the time when this ordinance shall become effective. This is the first reading. Do I have a motion to approve?
So
I think, are we gonna do these one at a time? Or are we just doing all this bundle together?
We can do it either way.
Here, I had it one at a time like we did the committee meeting.
Cause I think I think some might be easy and I think some may need some discussion.
We have to have a motion and a second for any discussion to take place.
Second.
So I have a motion by Miss Carrie Morton and a second by Miss Sally Brock. Miss Youngblood, did you have a comment?
Yes, I'm here to speak on behalf of one of the properties that you're considering to consider surplus property, so whatever.
You move the mic up.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm here to discuss one of the pieces of property that you're considering to deem as surplus. So just whenever you get to that, I'll take that up.
Okay, which one is it?
The property on Lion Street, the parking lot on Lion Street,
Okay, I mean, we
is that
can,
one on your list?
it is.
Okay, I sent some photos over to. Did you get them? He said that he may, I'm trying to think, Sean, yeah,
I don't know if I got them.
okay,
If I did, I haven't seen them.
okay. So I sent some photos to Sean about the Lion Street property. It's a piece of property that obviously the city owns that's near some real estate that I own in downtown McMinnville. And I think that it's utilized more frequently than you think it is. I took some photos of the parking lot yesterday at about 2:30 p.m. and there was approximately 14 or 15 cars parked in there. But I also took some pictures of the severe damage that's like there are large potholes that are in that parking lot. And so I think it would take some pretty significant dirt work and also paving to get it to a point where people could probably park safely in there. But I think that could be the reason that people aren't utilizing it is because it's not in, it needs to be repaired severely. Do you have any questions about it?
This is the only property on that list that I did not really want to see the city declare surplus property. I mean, parking downtown is finite. That is city owned and it's public parking, and I would like the city to hold on to it.
I second that.
Yeah. And I think we could make the necessary repairs to make it more usable to the public and safer for people and vehicles and things like that. So.
I think the genesis of this whole surplus property discussion was it surfaced, it seemed to have circulated around insurance requirements and when we had to do walks and make repairs to certain buildings that we don't utilize in the parking lot doesn't really seem to fall into that category. So I think somehow or another, this particular piece of real estate got thrown in here and I'm with you. I don't think it's applicable to the discussion that was gave origin to this surplus property push.
Yeah, I make a motion.
If I could just speak to why it got on the list, I didn't know that it was used as much as it is. And thought that it could be used for a developer to develop the property. So.
Yeah.
If it's used often, then we should leave it as a parking lot and fix it up. So, and I just wanted it to be discussed.
Yeah, and I mean, with some of the developments, not only Miss Youngblood's, but others that are coming downtown, I think the additional parking may be needed.
Yeah.
And if it goes private, then that won't be accessible anymore to us or anybody else.
I think it puts a significant burden on the churches that are nearby to allow people to park in their parking lots, which they have to maintain. So I think the city needs to do their part and maintain downtown parking as much as possible on that side of the city. You have plenty on, behind Main Street, but not behind Morford Street.
So I make a motion to have this one removed from consideration by the board.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second by myself and Mr. Stacy Harvey. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes.
How big is that lot? Do anybody know?
Yeah, it's not measured really.
Really on here.
But Sean did get the camp removed out of that parking lot
I
though,
know.
so.
I was appreciative of that. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, we do have one more piece there that I believe if Mr. Purtle would, he'd correct me on this, but I believe that piece of property that's down across from Rocket Park, that came up before, that would be parcel 069HC007. I believe we looked at this one time before and council told us that we couldn't sell that because there was no means of access to it. And so that was up in my 2 years on this board. That came up once before. And then that was pushed out because we had no right of way to get in, to get into it at that time. Would that still be your opinion, Mr. Pearl?
It is still my opinion. I could stand corrected, but from the tax map and the real estate records, I could locate no access that lot had onto a public right of way, which would mean it's landlocked, which statute prohibits us from conveying to a third party.
I mean, if from a legal standpoint, we can't do it. I mean, that's.
So we can't even give it away.
No.
It's on the record. I found the minutes and got it to Stacy.
Yeah, I do know the owner of the house that is, connected to this property is just adamant that she wants it. But again, if legally we can't do it, then
Well, I think we
just-
could sell it to
Actually,
her.
that's a different scenario.
Yeah, that's different.
If aggregating the property, if aggregating this parcel with an existing parcel that has access to the right of way, you could aggregate it.
Okay,
You simply can't sell it in isolation.
okay, I
Or
understand.
convey it in isolation.
Okay,
So if that's the case, we would need to declare it surplus.
With the condition that it only be sold to an adjoining property owner.
and,
Or sold legally.
and,
It'd be aggregated with a piece of property that has access to a public right of way.
and that we are privy to an easement on that property connected to the river should,
An easement does not suffice for right of way access.
okay. But
He wants to.
We don't
keep it
have
as-
any-
no, we want to keep an easement in case future projects for greenways or anything like that along the river on that side of the river.
Well, you could convey it subject to an easement if the purchaser is willing to give it.
Okay,
You could even condition it up on the grant of an easement to the city for whatever purpose.
okay,
It gets a little technical.
okay. Well, I'll entertain a motion.
Take it off. Okay.
I think we can leave it on as long as we craft the motion that it has
have
to
the
be aggregated
stipulations on
with as just as Mr. Pearl
A
said.
motion, I'm partly for interrupting, apologize. A motion to that effect would not be required. It's simply providing what the law allows or does not allow. You can declare a surplus in order to free it up to market it.
Okay,
It would just be marketed subject to conditions.
okay, all right, very well.
So we need a motion for
But we s-
surplus.
Yeah, we still have to have a motion.
Well, I'll
To
make the
cons-
motion to consider it surplus.
I'll second it.
Have a motion by Mr. Stacy Harvey and a second by Miss Carrie Morton.
Yeah.
For the South Riverside Drive to be considered surplus by the city. Any questions or discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion passes.
Do I need a roll call?
No.
Okay.
The next piece is Durham Street.
So that's just an empty lot that we don't have any use for. We have been approached by a couple different people wanting to acquire it, so
Why do we own it?
not sure.
Do you know, okay.
How long, do you know how long the city's held the deed?
I do not.
Okay.
Well, I would make a motion that this be included in surplus property.
Have a motion by Mr. Stacy Harvey, second by Mr. Steve Harvey. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, how do we go about, how are you gonna go about selling, like? How does that happen?
Highest bidder.
We were discussing that earlier between ourselves. The city is all the means of disposal available to it that a private citizen would have. You could sell at public auction, you could sell at private sale, you could sell at sealed bid. We even have used online services to sell some things. So you're pretty much at your pleasure. Whatever you think would bring the highest and best price for the city.
And do we do that? Is that discussed here or later or at another time?
I would envision coming back on
Okay.
each one of these
Okay.
and saying, this is what we recommend. On how to proceed on this parcel.
Okay.
And then you all can vote.
Perfect.
Any further questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. The next item is 524 Sparta Street, which is the Warren County Rescue Squad building. The city has owned that for quite some time and has leased it to the rescue squad. And they have expressed interest in owning that themselves rather than continuing to lease it from the city.
Make a motion that we include this in the surplus property.
We have a motion by Mr. Stacy Harper,
Second.
second by Ms. Deidre Dunlap. Even though they're occupying it, it can go directly to the rescue squad. It doesn't have to be bid out. And they hope that they procure
I think you would have to put it through some mechanism of sale. I don't think you can just gratuitously deed it to them, although.
well, I'm not necessarily
need
saying
to
give it to
double-check
them.
that.
We
but-
did that with Prosperity Point, though.
Yeah,
That was a non.
It's a
community
full
based.
one cat.
Yeah.
C. I need to double check that, make sure you can do that as a direct gift. It could be in the form of a charitable donation.
Yeah, I just don't want us to consider this surplus with them under the impression they get to stay there and then all of a sudden
Somebody else. take
they're
it up.
forced out.
Real estate market's very competitive. We wouldn't want that to get away
Yeah.
from. That'd be a disservice
Yeah.
instead of a service. But we do, regardless of what we do, we have to declare it surplus and then we can decide after the fact what we do. Fair enough. Thank you.
We have a motion and a second. Any further questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Item 10B is ordinance number 1860 of the city of McMinnville to appropriate funds to certain nonprofit charitable organizations and certain nonprofit civic organizations to promote the civic betterment, social improvements, and the health and welfare of residents of the city of McMinnville for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2023 and ending June 30th, 2024, in the aggregate amount of $417,716, and provide the conditions under which these appropriations are made. To express the time when this ordinance becomes effective. This is the second and final reading. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Sally Broad,
Second.
second by Mr. Stacy Harvey. Any questions or comments regarding this ordinance?
I would just like to state again for the record, for anybody that missed it the last time, that a large portion of this, over 1/3, is a direct pass through through the hotel motel tax back to the tourism development. Is that correct? The Tourism Development Board?
It is.
So I just want to make sure that anybody that missed it on the first reading understands that I believe 145, so maybe not quite a third, $145,000 of this is a direct pass through from hotel motel tax. So the city's not actually giving money from our budget. We're actually just pass through entity.
Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote.
Sally Broad,
Yes.
Stacy Harvey.
Aye.
Steve Harvey,
Yes.
Rachel Kirby.
Yes.
Carrie Morton,
Yes.
Earl Chastain,
Yes,
Mr.
motion,
Dunlap.
Aye.
motion passes. Item 11 is departmental reports. We have several department heads here this evening. If anyone wishes to address the board, come on up.
Good evening. I just wanted to mention a few things. If you've been around the complex, we have some tourism signage that has gone up. It looks really good. Hopefully that was part of a grant, but I wanted to give thanks to Bud and Isaac from Frank's department. They came out and helped us get them in the ground and get the signs up. They look extremely well. So if you're over that way, please pay attention to those. We're going to do more of that. So those are going up. Also, the Gilly Pool is very busy. We've had a good summer. Katie Smart, Rachel and I've talked about, is doing a phenomenal job over there. The pool is clean. We've scored a 98 each time. We've had inspections. The guards are doing extremely well with the heat. We're trying to do all we can to make sure that they're good. But it's been a really good summer. August 4th, next Friday, we have our employee picnic from 5 to 7 at the pool. We'll have Battle of the Badges. Yeah, we're excited about that. That's coming up. David Dunlap has his Dr. Pepper tennis tournament coming up this weekend. We just finished fall soccer signups. We had about 430 kids. One thing that's really neat this year with soccer is Renee Alvarez, who is our program coordinator. We've had enough girls to have an all-girl division in the upper divisions. So we've always been a co-ed league. So we're hoping that that's gonna help better their game and improve soccer for the middle school and high school level as we are a feeder program. And then lastly, we've just got a lot of parties going at the pool. We're just super busy. It's like this week is a party every night because everybody's trying to get them in before school starts, which will be soon. So thank you all.
Thank you.
The pool is spotless. It is just sparkling. It's great.
I just want to let everybody know, you probably saw on Facebook, but Corey Knowles, we promoted him to officially as a detective. He'd started as patrol officer came from the sheriff's department. He'd been with us years ago, but it went over to, he's back with us, but now he's detective. And last week we had our first Teen Police Academy, and it went off really great. It was a good hit. They got their certificates on Friday evening, and of course, we're gonna tweak it some for the next one, but they really had a good time and enjoyed it. We had 13 participants that came, which, this being a first one and being during the summer, we weren't sure how many, because everybody has things going on, but plan on having the next one probably in the spring. This fall will be our CPA, or the adult one. We haven't got everything finalized with it, but it'll probably be in October. When we do that. So, but yeah, we've heard a lot back from the kids and their parents. They really enjoyed it. So it was good. They think they learned a lot. And also about the Battle of the Badges, I will apologize to Chief Mayfield that he's going down. Going down, and you better get ready. So, yeah.
Chief Mosley, I did see some of your officers standing outside the Civic Center the other night smoking. That-
Bad.
The firemen were not.
They're still gonna go down.
Mr. Ming, do you have anything?
I do not.
Mr. Purtle?
No.
Any announcements for the board?
I just wanted to thank the Breakfast Rotary for the river cleanup. I didn't really feel like I helped, but I did show up, and they got some trash out, and it's really nice to see different organizations do things like that in our community to try to help make it pretty. And when other people come, they see how pretty our waters are.
Excellent. Well, if there's nothing else for the board, we will stand adjourned. Thank you.
Yes.